Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to Story Time with the Intimacy Ally. It's me, Jenny Simus, Lady, and I am joined by this incredible woman, Christina Ioannides. She is a martial arts expert. She runs a company called FearLESS and FearLESS, and she has been teaching self-defense for over a decade. And there's so much more that I want to tell you about her. But before I do that, I want to hand it over to Christina to introduce herself. So, Christina, take it away.
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for having me on the show again. Uh, Christina Ioannides, I have been training a style of karate called Commercial Kakai for over 37 years. It was a love and passion of mine from the minute I stepped on the mat as a 9-year-old. And I have since, in South Africa too, I started there, moved here, continued on. I have since, starting karate, become a 6-time world karate fighting champion. As of recent, got my 6th-degree black belt, an historic moment for me, and especially because I am the first woman in the US in our style who has achieved that rank. That belt for me is not
What?
just personal to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just important for all women to know that just to follow their heart, follow their passion, and what is actually achievable. That's what the belt, when I received it this year, represented to me. It's not just about me, but just a sign that all women can accomplish whatever they put their heart out to. So
Mm.
with that said, I as I said, I've been training for many years, and I have been teaching self-defense for, as you said, a decade. And in the last couple of years, I finally, after a fight with breast cancer, decided to build a full-on business called FearLESS and FearLESS with it and launch my brand. And so I'm out there teaching women, empowering women, to corporates, women's groups, schools, organizations, anywhere that I can empower women, help them stand up for themselves, use their voices, and make them stronger. I want to be there.
You're there
I want to absolutely impact their lives.
with the black belt, like a cape. You're there. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. So yeah, I've been, running this course, making online dating magical, and doing a lot of research and finding out all of these horror stories of people just being scared to engage in dating, or even taking the first step to like go out and meet people, because as women, they're they're scared. Um, and so that's why I think like what you're doing is so impactful and so powerful. Um, I guess I want to get down to the nitty gritty of, when you speak to women, or actually before that, I want to talk to you about you. I know you said that you started martial arts at 9 years old, but what really drew you into, teaching self-defense? How did that happen? Was that from the breast cancer? Was that around the same time? Was it a different job? What happened?
No, so the self defense. I actually started with a friend of mine from karate, who did a lot of volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity. And
Mhm.
during Women's History Month, they wanted someone to do a self defense course.
Okay.
And she basically said, I'm not the right person for it, but I know the person who would be perfect for this. And that person happened to be me. So my
Okay.
friend Susan and I, she did a lot of the legwork at the time, put a program together, and we did a volunteer evening, teaching self defense to women. Just recalling, her and I like laugh about it now.
Mhm.
I was so nervous that night. I mean, I could barely get the words out of my mouth.
Right.
Commented to me after, she's like, you had a tough time. And I was like, I just couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I didn't know what to say. Once I got into the application of things, it was a little easier. But initially, just the safety discussion, I was definitely fumbling over my words. Anyway, fast
Mhm.
forward almost 10 years later, as I mentioned, I built a business
Mhm.
and are going full force now. So, yeah, it started off with a volunteer, and we kind of just do it here and there, word of mouth. It was just really a side gig. I was not doing anything the way I'm doing now, not at all. It was a little
Right.
bit here, maybe a private here, maybe a library there, a volunteer here, kind of just very haphazard. And if people knew about it, great. If not, that was kind of it. Definitely not as active as I am now. Definitely not as active as I am on social media. Definitely
Mhm.
not doing everything that back then that I'm doing now and getting my name out.
Mhm.
So I guess that essentially just planted the seeds for where I am today, laid the foundation, and you just keep getting better at something you love and passionate about.
That's wonderful. Now, um, if you were to discuss what you're doing with some of the ladies who I'm working with, who are like re-entering the dating scene, now I know that part of your work is about, or a lot of your work is about empowerment. So I want to know, like, what does that mean to you when you're trying to help these women discover or gain empowerment?
So for me, empowerment means, being confident and courageous enough to stand up for yourself.
Mm,
Whether that is, using your voice to, you know, solidify your boundary, for example, or say something that you don't like, whatever the situation is,
hmm.
and or walking confidently into a room if you're going to present, that's
Hmm.
empowerment. If you have to stand up for yourself, let's say physically, that's empowerment. Being able to, in whatever capacity it may be, that you can feel strong, stand up for yourself, and not play small. That's my big thing. The way I relate empowerment is for women not to play small, and that they take a
Hmm.
space in the world, that they can
Yes.
walk into a room and say, you know what, I belong here. And they can walk
Hmm.
the street and say, I belong here and I can take care of myself. And I am doing wherever or whatever's happening, and I can be strong enough to stand up for myself. That's being, to me, is being empowered.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we talk about, like when I run the group, is you know, how men might take liberties or, they think that they can just touch you or they think that, oh, well, I bought her dinner, so she's got to put out, that kind of thing. And I think that having someone like you give them information about how to, make themselves safe or the smallest things that can just make them feel like if they were in that situation, they would know what to do. So, what would you say to these ladies who are re entering this scene that are just like, well, I don't know, if he wants something from me and he got me dinner, like, I kind of feel like I need to. I want to tell them, hell no. And consent is totally up to you, and boundaries are totally up to you. And then I want to ask you, what are some little things that you would want to teach them?
You mentioned one thing, for example, is the boundaries. Just
Hmm.
because you go on a date with someone and they buy you dinner, I don't care how expensive it is or how fancy it is, you're not obligated to put out or whatever their request is. If you don't feel comfortable,
Hmm.
no's a no. You have to consent to it.
Right.
No obligation. Your obligation, your agreement was that you would go on a date with them. That's it. And if you fulfill that part, that's sufficient for you. If they want to touch you inappropriately, I think it's important that women speak up and say something.
Hmm.
Uh, in regards to that, I know that sometimes people can be scared and women can be scared and they're afraid to, hurt their feelings or offend them. But if you're not feeling comfortable, what's happening to you inside? All of a sudden, you're being violated in whatever that looks like, and you're thinking about the other person, but how are you feeling? You're probably just, closing up inside, playing small, because you're
Hmm.
so busy thinking about the other person. But what about your feelings? What about the way you feel?
Right.
The other thing is just go to public spaces, let
Hmm.
someone know, do your research. Uh, just little things of following your intuition. If you don't feel comfortable,
Hmm.
go with it. Let someone know. I don't know, maybe you go to a restaurant and it's closing and there's nobody else there and it's dark. Maybe you just say, you know what, I'm just going to hang back. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not a one size fits all, but it's you need to do what's comfortable for you. And
Right.
however they react, if they're going to flip out, they won't really, in my opinion, they're not really a person that you want to date, ever want to go on
Nope.
a second date. I mean, if that's your character off the first go,
Mhm.
Why would you even want to meet with someone like that a second time?
Right. I think it's really, them showing their ass and, like, how little character they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I feel like there are a lot of women out there who just don't know how to say no, or, they got these patriarchal messages when they were younger that it's okay. It's okay, and, men can take liberties. And that's why I think that it's so important that you are doing this work, and I guess I'd love to know, when you meet with a group or when you go out and teach a class, like, what is it usually like?
So, there's different formats that I can do my presentation or my workshops depending on what the ask is.
Mhm.
I generally do it 2 hours. It could be broken out in two 1 hour sessions or full 2 hours. Uh, the way I generally do it is an hour of safety discussion, common
Mhm.
sense behavior theory, as I call it, which I personally think is a lot more important because just sometimes just small changes in behavior could
Mhm.
save your life and
Okay.
prevent a sticky situation from happening. And then the second part is getting into simple physical movements, practicing them, demonstrating them, and so forth. Now, with that said, depending on the ask of the group, I had a group recently who said to me, we just really want to do the physical part. So I'll just quickly go into the safety discussion, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever the time is, go over that real quick and then I'll
Mhm.
move into the physical aspect of self-defense. So I can
Okay.
vary it in any manner, whatever the ask is. But I personally
Mhm.
do believe that both are important. It's not just one or the other. It's good
Right.
to have someone point out common sense behaviors, things that people don't think of. I mean, I've mentioned examples that I've heard, and people look at me like, "Does that really happen?" And I tell
You
them,
wanna
"Yeah,
lay
this
one
does
on
happen."
us?
Wow,
Not to
gosh.
put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Right, no. Just a quick one that that comes to mind is people in the suburban areas, people leaving their fobs in the car because it's convenient, because they don't want to take it in, and gangs and thieves that are coming down to some of these neighborhoods see the fob in the car and steal the car right at the driveway, and off it goes.
Oh, wow.
They have to deal with insurance,
Okay.
police report, and
Mhm.
call. Another incident happened at a sports game for a young kid. Parent leaves
Mhm.
the car unlocked. Thief comes in. They take their remote control, the garage remote control, see where they live from the registration in the glove compartment. And while the parents are at the game, go to the house and rob them blind. That's what I
What?
say. Some of these things are just sometimes so minor. Little
Mhm.
things of, have your keys ready when you're coming home, or carrying a weapon, having your things close to you, not
Mhm.
on the phone constantly
Mhm.
when you don't know what's going on, paying attention, be aware, listen to things around you. You see something
Mhm.
weird, maybe cross the street, keep distance. I mean, there's a whole slew of tips and
Mhm.
tools that I provide. As I said, safety discussion, common sense behaviors that little changes can completely avoid a potentially ugly situation. And so that's why
Right.
I personally feel that it's not necessarily learning the physical movements.
Mhm.
It's also important. Knowing the other side as well is just as important. But I think
Right.
sometimes people equate, oh, self defense, I'm going to do grabs, I'm going to do holds, I'm going to do on the ground. And yeah, those are absolutely important. But
Mhm.
you can avoid it because a simple thing of, I don't know, let's say you cross the street and avoided someone from attacking you. Wouldn't you rather that than get into an altercation with someone?
Right.
It's not always preventable, but sometimes it is. And
Right.
why not just take that self defense?
Yeah, like, lessen the odds that
Right.
something bad is going to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's preparation.
Mhm.
Now, I wholeheartedly believe preparation in any aspect of life is the same thing with self defense. Why would you not prepare to keep yourself safe and your loved ones if you can?
Mhm.
Why do
Yeah.
you have
No,
to
I
let
try.
it
I try
happen?
to tell the ladies that I'm working with, if you haven't met this person before, do it somewhere public. Better yet, bring somebody with you. They don't even have to sit at the same table. Like, you could have a friend that's 2 tables away that is just there,
Yep.
you know?
Speak to them beforehand. See what they look like.
Mhm.
There's FaceTime, there's all sorts of video chats now that
Mhm.
you can have an idea, because you have no idea if the person on the other side, just by their pictures, is the person you think you're meeting.
Mhm.
I've had that happen to me where you see a picture of a person and it's not who they claim to be.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I mean, there's all sorts of fake profiles out there.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of people pulling all sorts of, you know, funny business stuff. And, it sounds great. And if someone's looking to date, it's like, oh, they say the right things. They say the most charming things. And you let your guard down. And then all of a sudden, you end up meeting them, I don't know, in some obscure place.
Mhm.
You have no idea where you are. And now what? Try to meet in
Mhm.
a public place. And if they say, oh, let's meet in a place that you're either not familiar with or somewhere
Mhm.
that's very quiet, I just don't recommend that. Especially
Right.
nowadays with technology, do your homework, see where you're
Yeah.
going.
I know here
Go.
in Maryland, we have case search, and I don't know if they have that everywhere, but you better believe when I started online dating again, any guy that was like, "We should meet up." I was like, "Click, click, 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 click. Let me look you up. Hang on a second." And I get it, like not all crimes get reported, but it made me feel better if I went and looked the person up before I had any kind of personal interaction with them. Even like talking on the phone, I was like, "No, first let me have this information. Thanks."
Absolutely. If you can get their last name, I mean, you can Google the daylights out of someone and you can find out almost anything you want.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you can get that information, why not? Like, do your homework and see who you could be dealing with. Some of the nicest people and the most charming people could be the ones that are really looking to hurt you.
It's
Uh,
true.
and,
It's
and
true.
I think with dating, sometimes people they want to meet someone, they want to meet a partner, which obviously is, that's what the dating apps are for. And you sometimes will let your guard down because someone says to you exactly the things that you want to hear. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, he sounds so nice. He's so sweet. He's so complimentary. I mean, everything
Mhm.
that women love. And I think
Mhm.
it's all great. But you want to first make sure that it's all genuine and the, the person that it's coming from has good intention, not they're just saying this to you. You let your guard down, and then God forbid something does happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, really quick, I want to steer us back to you and your journey here, and I really want to hear about your encounter with, well, encounter. That sounds so weird. Your experience with breast cancer and how that happened and how it changed things for you.
Um, okay, I'm just trying to think kind of where to start. So it was
Start
COVID.
wherever. Yeah.
Um, it was we were I was diagnosed in about March, April of 2021. So it was in
Whoosh.
the midst of COVID. It was in the midst of COVID.
Uh-huh.
I had um, I had taken full advantage of COVID. So what I mean by that is, while I was working from home, I really leveled up my health. I got fit. I got healthy. I was even eating healthier. I was at the top of my game, and I felt wonderful. Anyway, the beginning of
Nice.
21, I go for my normal checkups, physical,
Mhm.
mammogram, gyno, and I always get my mammogram done before I visit my gyno. That's just something I do.
Mhm.
So I get my mammogram, it's clean. I go to the gynecologist, he does a breast exam, and on my right, he feels a lump. And he says to me, I don't think it's anything, but we do need to have it checked out.
Hmm.
Okay, that's normal procedure. So I go, I get a ultrasound, check the area, then they said you need to come back for fine needle aspiration. So I come back, I'm thinking it's nothing. So
Mhm.
I do have fibroadenoma, which is just a cluster or dense fiber tissue.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so I was like, oh, and I think the hospitals thought the same thing. Oh, it's going to be that. They're going to go in, stick a couple of needles, run a couple of tests. I'll
Mhm.
get that. I'll be totally fine. That's kind of what I went in with, and I think they thought the same thing. Anyway, they do the fine
Mhm.
needle aspiration, and they say to me, "You need to come back and do a biopsy." I'm like, "Okay." I come back, do a biopsy, and then all of a sudden they come back, and you just feel the tension in the room just
Mhm.
rise up 1,000 degrees. It's like, okay, there's something going on here, but they don't say anything. Anyway, they said they have to send it off for testing, whichever.
Mhm.
And then about 5 days later, my gynecologist calls me and confirms it's cancer. mean, of course, I was devastated when I first heard the news.
Right.
Because, now I'm thinking I got healthy, I was fit, I felt like I was doing all the right things.
Mhm.
I'd been going through a lot of stress during at work. So that's what is it, the stress? What could it be? And then the reality is you have to face it. Um,
Mhm.
Whatever the cause is, it doesn't really matter because you have it. Anyway, my sister's also a breast cancer survivor, so I saw her go through the whole thing. So fast forward, we just decided for logistical reasons. I live up close in New York City.
Mhm.
Logistical reasons, I just made sense to take my care down to the Jersey Shore where my family was, my sister was. It was no use coming to New York City in and out because that just wouldn't be possible. But
Okay.
my sister, anyway, we go down there. I do get all the testing done. They confirm, it's cancer. I need to get a mastectomy done. That's what I opted for. Opted for just a right mastectomy. I didn't get anything done on the left except for a small implant. And so, what that involves just testing and procedures and MRIs and doctors and what are you going to do and explanations and genetic testing, the whole nine.
Mhm.
There came a point, I would say a few days after I got diagnosed, in the typical fighter that I am as a martial artist, I remember saying,
Mhm.
I'm going to beat this. And in my head, I conjured up this fight, me and cancer. It was like me and cancer. And we
Okay.
fighting back and forth. Some days I would win and some days it would win.
Right.
Kind of like how I went in it. A few of the things that I did do that I highly recommend to anyone, whether you have cancer or any difficulty,
Mhm.
I prepared
Mhm.
physically, mentally, and spiritually. I was very strong and very ready. Physically, I kept on running, kept on doing the push up challenge that I had been involved in, got very physically fit.
Mhm.
I was by far in the best shape of my life the day of surgery, by far. I mean, I
Mm.
probably looked better than what I did when I was 16 years old. Uh,
Nice.
Honestly, physically, I was great. Spiritually, my faith in God, I'm Greek Orthodox, and my faith means a lot to me.
Mhm.
I was very strong, and I knew God would get me through this.
Mhm.
And then just emotionally, I just cleaned up a lot of, let's say, trauma and wounds, and I don't know, I guess just things that I was hanging on to that I didn't even realize. And a friend
Mm.
kind of pushed me. She said to me, you said these were going to be one of your goals, and you need to follow through with this. Uh,
Okay.
and I oohed and ahed a little bit about it in the beginning, like, like a child who just doesn't want to do their thing. But, she pushed me and I'm glad she did. I was emotionally clean. My apartment was clean. My closets were clean. I mean, it was
You
like a white,
had, like, the most productive cancer, like, of anyone ever.
it was like a clean sheet of paper. Like it was a fresh start. And so
Mm.
I went into surgery the day off.
Mhm.
I was so ready. Leading up to the surgery, I was very calm. I was very peaceful. The morning of the surgery at 5 o'clock, my alarm went off. I didn't even know why it set my alarm that early. I mean, I just got up and it was just so peaceful. It was amazing that was having surgery and I was actually just that calm. I
Yeah.
did get nervous in full disclosure. I've never had surgery done before when they like actually wheeled me to the surgery room and you see, I don't know if you've ever had surgery done, but there's all
Lots.
these like lights and machines and all these things above you.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, here it is, and this is real. And the tears started flowing down my eyes. And the anesthesiologist, I remember, I'll never forget this. He came to me, he's like, "Don't worry, we're just going to give you some medicine," and I was out.
Yep.
That's the last thing I remember. Um, and then thank God surgery went well. Came out of that surgery with no pain. It's just I think that the being physically fit definitely did help.
Mhm.
My plastic surgeon told me that. Second surgery went just as well. Third surgery was just a little bit more complicated, and so came out with a bit of pain. In a couple of days,
Wow.
it subsided. And it's
I
I had a
didn't realize
very
that there were 3 surgeries. Oh my
well
goodness.
because you know what it is. I opted for a right mastectomy,
Mhm.
so you do the mastectomy first, then they do the implant.
Mhm.
The implant in after they take the expander out, and then I had a lift on my left.
Mhm.
And so they put a small implant in to size it up. But
Right.
when he did the third surgery, he noticed that my right implant had actually completely come out of the capsule.
Oh my
So we actually
God.
had to replace the initial implant that he put in. So that's why I say it was just a little bit more complicated. Not
Whoosh.
complicated, it was just, unforeseen things that he was not expecting. And so, of
Mm-hmm.
course, by the end of the surgery, I was exhausted. I was just drained. Um, it had taken like everything out of me.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, the next few days, I was just home sleeping and literally doing nothing, just lay on the couch.
Whoosh.
But by the grace of God, overall, I had a good journey.
Mm-hmm.
Would every day great? No, absolutely not. I had certainly my crappy days, the days when the reality of the implant started to hit me as an athlete. That was a big deal to me. I was like, what does my future now as an athlete and as a martial artist look like? A few,
Mm.
after my initial surgery, like you look down and you think to yourself, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
All your breast tissue has been removed, um,
Mm.
and you just have this just skin just here.
Right.
And you kind of look at everything and you reflect and you wonder what just went on here.
Mm-hmm.
But like everything, you take it day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep moving forward, and that's just what I did. I enjoyed my great days and my crappy days. I just processed emotions. I cried. I Whatever emotion was going on that day and or emotions,
Mm-hmm.
I learned to process them, and the next day would just hopefully be better days, and they were. I mean, the one thing I can certainly say is that I certainly processed emotions I didn't even know existed.
Mm.
But that's one thing that I just believe is just part of the process, not only for breast cancer, but for any struggle. You're going to go through your highs and lows, and you
Mm-hmm.
should just allow, the ups and downs to just keep going. Enjoy the highs and the lows, just accept them, process them, and let it move. I think of it like flowing water, like through a pipe. It
Mm.
just let it just keep going, and eventually it will pass. As they say, that too shall pass. It will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, keep going day by day, and I was just optimistic. And fortunately, I had a very good journey, and I'm very blessed for it.
Mm-hmm.
At times when I look back, it was just very surreal to me, especially after seeing what my sister went through. And I thought to
Mm.
myself, how is this possible that I'm having this kind of journey when I saw what she went through? I was very lucky I didn't have chemo and radiation because I opted for the
Mm-hmm.
mastectomy, and my cancer got caught early, so that did help. Um, yeah, it's just I just feel that my preparation and preparing for anything can completely change, or even just a little bit change the outcome of how you will process things, of how you will see things, and how you will just handle things as you're going through the difficulty and through the challenge.
Whoosh.
I'm
Yes.
a big believer of that. Very, very big believer.
Right.
Ab-
And I think that your faith, like, totally helped you either in preparing and getting through and, making the most of life after, you know?
Absolutely.
Having that deep spirituality is, like, so important, and it does connect you to something so much bigger, and then you're like, "Well, I have more purpose here,
Yeah,
so I'm not going anywhere." Yeah.
absolutely. You say it very well.
That's awesome. So then, all right, so you've gotten through all of these surgeries, you've come out the other side. And so I know that there was something about this that kind of influenced where your work went. Do you want to talk about that at all?
So, during COVID, a friend of mine had suggested that I start teaching karate over Zoom. We were all home. Obviously, people weren't doing anything. So she said, why don't you start teaching karate? I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. It was
Right?
sort of a no-brainer. I didn't, maybe I would have not thought of the initiative, but she kind of put the idea out there. So I started teaching. Things were going well. And then there was a point in 2021 that I was a bit of a crossroad with my karate, my self defense, and my passion, so forth, and my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, okay, you know what? January of 21, I was going to build a business Facebook page. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I can start there. Start small, kind of see where things go. So, I started with that because now, just to sort of segue real quick, as I said, I'd been teaching self defense from before, and I had sort of had a name, but it wasn't really anything formal.
Mhm.
which is sort of there, Fabulous and Fierce. My brother and I had sat one night and trying to figure out what to do and so forth. It was kind of cool, sort of the history behind it. And so that was it. Anyway,
Mhm.
fast forward back to 21. I start the Facebook business page. Now I'm sort of advertising a little bit more, getting a little bit more active on social media. And then, of course, I get diagnosed with breast cancer. So now,
Mm.
of course, now I have to pivot because I have to focus on my health and the surgeries and so forth. So I stopped teaching for a while, had my surgery would stop, and then my doctor would give me the green light. I'd go back, teach for a few more weeks, then have another surgery, then stop, and so forth. That's pretty much how 21 went. Surgery,
Okay.
stop, teach a little bit more, and so forth. Anyway, after I saw just how well my surgery had gone, how well I'd gotten through all this, I thought to myself, you know what? I can do anything I want. I'm
Mhm.
actually going to fully create a full-fledged business. The idea of the website was there from before in 21. It was like,
Okay.
okay, I'll get to it. Yeah, it was okay. I'll get there. But then I think after my fight with breast cancer, I thought I can honestly do anything I want. I'm limitless. And so kind of went full force of we're going to build this website. We're going to get a name. I'm going to create a brand. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to market the self-defense. I'm going to market the karate. It's not just going to be sort of a little thing anymore. It's not just going to be a side gig. It's going to be a
Right.
full-fledged side business because I think, as you know, I work full-time in corporate. So
Mhm.
after my third surgery, beginning of the year, I put together a focus group. People from different walks of life and so forth came together, gave me ideas on how to sort of build it out. They voted on a name, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And
Mhm.
so I had a web developer build it out for me. And then July of 22, I
Mhm.
finally launched my brand. And so here I am since July of 22, out there networking, getting my name out there, being active on social media, teaching
Mhm.
and empowering women in all capacities, small studios, small workshops, women's groups, retreats, online, in person, law firms. I did one for my company at Morgan Stanley twice. They absolutely loved it. The feedback was amazing. Corporations, churches, private, it's sort of run the gamut and I've enjoyed it
Right.
all. I get to impact so many women's lives. I love when women leave and say, wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I love when they leave me like positive reviews. So far, knock on wood, I have not received one negative review, which is, for me,
Nice.
wonderful. Uh,
Mhm.
my testimonials on LinkedIn. And, just as of recent, to share something great. So
Mhm.
I did a private to a young girl who was off to boarding school about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so teens can be tough.
Mhm.
They can be tough because now their parents are forcing them to do this and they don't really want
Mhm.
to do it. And anyway, I do the private with this young girl, and her parents are there on the side listening, and you could see her dad's like wanting her to get in a little bit, and she's rolling her eyes. Anyway, they were happy, she was happy, I left, and I was like, okay, you know what? I hope I make some sort of impact or that she learned something. Yesterday, I get an email from her. I think it's her sister. I need to reread the email. The woman says, you gave my sister a private self defense 4 years ago, and she went to boarding school feeling so much safer and so much more confident. Would you come and do it at the school that I teach at? I mean, when I read that email, my heart sank. I was so happy. Like, I almost started to cry. I was like,
Aw.
wow. You just have no idea the impact you'll make on someone's life.
Mhm.
And here was this young girl who, to me, I mean, obviously, I completely misread it.
Mhm.
To me, got something so much more out of the private self defense that I'd given her than I even thought. And now
Mhm.
she's reaching out to me 4 years later, asking me if I would do it at a school that she works at. So, you know, it's very humbling for me. And while it's humbling, it's also very empowering for me when I can touch so many people's lives. When they
Mhm.
can say, I learned and I left and I have these tools and I feel more confident and I've used them and I had the situation happen and I was able to like pull a tool and a tip that you had given us in the presentation, the workshop, and it helped me and I left like knowing how to manage things.
Mhm.
That just completely fulfills me. It fills my well, and it empowers me too. And it gives me even more reason. Not that I know what my why is,
Mhm.
but it even pushes my why even higher and just forces me to keep going. I shouldn't say
Right.
force. I do this because I love it.
Right.
It's definitely not forced, but it just pushes me to keep trying harder and keep getting better and improving
Mhm.
the presentation and learning more so that I can teach more and just touch more people's lives. I mean, every time I leave a group, it's my whole wall is always filled. That I can go to the next one and
It's
just be even more
wonderful.
inspired. Yeah, it's a real blessing. It's a blessing.
So what is your vision for Fabulous and Fearless?
What
Like,
is
what
my
do you want it to be when it comes to its full fruition? How many people do you want to reach and influence?
every woman on this planet, if I could, if I can, that would be the ultimate goal.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, I would love Fabulous and Fearless to be a full-fledged business where I work on it. So I'm taking a step back here because there was a point where I was like, I want out of corporate and I just want to run this. But I'm in
Mhm.
such a good place with my work here at corporate that I've, God willing, can manage both and do work
Mhm.
full time and do that full time. That'd be the ultimate for me.
Okay.
So how do I see, how do I see Fabulous and Fearless? If I can't, if that don't work, if it that doesn't work, that I can't do both full time, I would love for Fabulous and Fearless to be I'm out there speaking, touching people's lives, sharing my story both as a breast cancer survivor, as a martial artist, lessons that I've learned, my years of training, whether it be through my karate, whether it be through my presentations, whether it be my self defense workshops, in whatever capacity, and be able
Mhm.
to touch women's lives all over the world, not just here in the tri-state area, for example, but everywhere, from California to China to South Africa, where I was born and raised, everywhere. If I can touch women's lives and help them in whatever capacity and empower them that they can stand up for themselves, feel strong, feel confident,
Take up
just
room.
total badass. Just, people always call me a badass. It's, I want every woman to be a badass, to be a
Yeah.
badass, to be fabulous and fearless, not just my brand name, but like everyone be able to walk out there and say, I can take care of myself. I can stand up for myself because I have the tools and I'm just that courageous and that confident. That's what I would
Right?
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah, whether they're like in the boardroom, on a date, on the street, whatever, you want them to be able to be like,
absolutely,
"Whew, yes, I am ready to take this on." Yes. Oh,
absolutely,
gosh, I hope
absolutely.
so. That sounds great. That sounds fabulous. Um,
Fearless.
so I want to start wrapping this up, but I also want to make sure that we touch on like any new projects you've got going. What's the best way for people to find you if you are accepting new people to work with? Lay it on me. What would you like me to share? And absolutely, I will put things in the show notes so people have easy access to find you.
Okay, absolutely. So, I have a few self-defense presentations and workshops over the next few weeks, uh,
Hmm.
at a law firm, at an advertising company, at a chamber, another retreat. I mean, for the next few weeks, I
You are
haven't done it.
busy.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm actually, I'm looking forward to them all.
Okay.
So, obviously, just building that out. Um, how can people find me? My website is fabulousfearless.com. There's a contact page. You can find me on my social media, fabulous.fearless, my Facebook business page, Fabulous and Fearless. And then for professionals, on my LinkedIn under my first and last name, Christina Ioannides. Um, touch base with me. I do online. I'm mobile. So despite being in the city, I teach
Hmm.
karate one day a week in the city on Wednesdays and virtually on Saturdays. Excuse me, on Wednesdays I also do virtual. That's my karate
Okay.
piece. But in terms of my self-defense presentation and workshops, on any of the three platforms, and I do it both in person and online,
Hmm.
I am mobile. So what I mean by that is I don't specifically have a studio where I teach regular self-defense, except for
Mhm.
that party on Wednesday. Um, I arrange with people, where do you live? Do you have a location? I come to you. What do I really need? A room and the woman, and I show up and present and or do the workshop, whatever the ask is.
Nice.
I'm willing to travel. I intentionally set up my brand and my business that way because
Mhm.
I want to touch more women's lives. And I knew if I just found a physical location and said, okay, I'm going to be here, if I wasn't in your area, you weren't coming to me. So
Right.
I intentionally did it the way I did so that I could just touch more lives. So I feel that being mobile and offering online kind of
Mhm.
gives the best of not both worlds, of all worlds.
Right.
Really anyone could be anywhere. And it's like, okay, we can do it online. Okay, would you come and travel up to wherever? Sure. Depending
Nice.
obviously on where it is and travel time and so forth. But yeah, absolutely. Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, they can find me. I'm quite accessible. Quite
Yeah.
accessible.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I share all of those links in the show notes. Anything else you wanna, send my way, I will share those too. I
Absolutely.
think it would be really cool if you started doing, like, 16th birthdays and 21st birthdays and
Oh,
all of
everybody
that,
does that.
and, like, bachelorette parties so that
That's
everybody learns how to do these things. I don't know, I think that
no,
would be, like, so much healthier and, like, more empowering than getting shit-faced or something, you know? Yeah, I don't know.
I just did a group last week, a girls' night out, and so what these women do in Hoboken, they get together once a month. Oh no, excuse me,
Mhm.
not once a month. Once a month they change because it was a little too much. Once a quarter, they do an
Okay.
event. Because a lot of them are
Mhm.
moms with young kids and so forth.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
do an
yeah, I
event.
know, I know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're in that world. They do an event, whatever the event is, and then they go out for dinner and drinks. So,
Mhm.
last week happened to be a girls' night out, self-defense. And so the moms
Yeah.
came and the women came and they kicked butt and, they hammered away at the bag, kneed and elbowed it and punched it and did all sorts of great things. They loved it.
Nice.
And then they went off to dinner and had drinks.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
it's like a
awesome.
perfect night.
Oh, and before I forget, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, like, so bad. So, when these women are out on dates, what are your go-tos? If they're in a situation where it is, they're with this person who has gotten, overbearing, aggressive, what have you, and they don't have that safety barrier. They don't have those people around them to maybe, alert with yelling or something. But what do you say? What are your first things? Like, here's what you could do. No matter what size you are, here's what you could do.
Are you talking about in terms of physical movements?
Yeah.
You're asking me
Or whatever you
what?
would say.
Okay, so I always tell women this: your voice is a very powerful weapon. So
Mhm.
scream, absolutely scream. That a lot of times can just frighten the person, and
Right?
they'll just let you go because it's that whole element of surprise. Like, whoa, where's that coming from?
Right?
Voice is very, very powerful in any capacity. I just want to say that, whether it be at
Mhm.
work, at home, on the street, use it. You
Yeah.
know, your voice, your your so everything on your body is a weapon. Your hands, your fingers, your head, your elbows,
Mhm.
your knees, everything can be used to hurt someone.
Okay.
Um, think of it. You can scratch someone, you can bite someone, you can pinch someone. All these
Mhm.
example that we used to do as like 2, 3, and 4, 5-year-old kids, and we used to get into trouble for it when we used to play with our siblings. You know,
Right?
little things like that, like scratch them. Always go for the vulnerable spots if you have to. If it really gets bad, gouge. Go for the eyes. Go
Mhm.
for the nose. Go for the ears, the throat, right in here.
Mhm.
Palm strike, right to the
Mhm.
nose. You're up or up this way.
Mhm.
No, on the right on the side here,
Mhm.
where there's no ribs, very very tender spots. You
Okay.
kick at the knee, kick at the shin, because that now doesn't
Mhm.
become a height issue.
Right?
Stomp on the foot, especially if you have heels and you don't feel comfortable. Stomp on the foot.
Mhm.
Elbow someone up here, here, on the side here, maybe at
Mhm.
the back if they have you. You know, think of everything on your body can be used as a weapon, and all
Okay.
the
I
key
love that.
especially for women, you always want to go for the vulnerable spots because it
Right.
doesn't matter how big your attacker is. You don't want to, for example, punch him on the chest.
Right.
You're not going to do anything.
Mhm.
Of course, one thing I forgot is the groin. It's funny. I always seem to forget that. Although women always say, "Oh, the groin." Um,
Right.
you know, vulnerable spots, the eyes. Doesn't matter how big your attacker is. That's going to hurt. The ears, it's going to hurt.
Mhm.
Look, if they're very tall and you're shorter, obviously that's not going
Punch
to
him in the groin, right? There you
hurt.
go.
The groin, punch him in the groin, like hit them underneath if you have to. The shin,
Right?
because obviously that's not a height issue. So whatever you can do, have your hands this way and push them if you have to. Just push them hard. Get them
Mhm.
away from you.
Yep.
Distance. You don't feel if they're too close to you and you don't feel comfortable, your hands are a sign of like stay away from me. So your hands are both a weapon and also gives cues of this communicates like you need to stay
Mhm.
away from me as well. It's a distance thing. So
Yeah.
turn it a little bit. This here prevents someone from just coming right into you.
Mhm.
Okay. And have them close to you here so that they would have to come through here. So you kind of prevent them from just barging in and grabbing if you
It's
have to.
like creating a physical boundary.
Correct. You
Yeah.
create a barrier. Exactly.
Mhm.
And you can also push them. And distance in self-defense is very, very key.
Mhm.
Very key. Because if you're close to someone, they can grab you. So when you're away from them, they can't grab you as easily. Like, look, you're on a date and you don't feel comfortable. That's where using your voice, you have to say something like, no, I'm not okay with that.
Mhm.
That doesn't make me feel comfortable. We as women have got to stand up, not play sports, not play small, and use our voices.
Yeah.
He wants to do something. He wants to kiss you. He wants to grope you. He wants to put his hand down your pants. I don't know, whatever the situation is,
Right.
unfortunately, and you don't consent to that, you have to speak up.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it's like they think it's their right and they can take those liberties, and it's not okay. And as women, we definitely have to speak up.
Yep.
Look, I do know that women have said, some of them get aggressive. And it is scary because now all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, now what? Now what if I say no and then he grabs me this way?
Mhm.
Push him away, like scream at them, pinch them, whatever it is that you need to do, and you can
Mhm.
get away, do it. That's why I always say don't go to places and dark alleys or dark places where you don't know the area, there's
Mhm.
nobody around, and then something happens
Yep.
and there's no like quote unquote safety net for you. Es-
Yeah.
Especially if it's a first date and you're not comfortable, be in an open public area.
Yes.
At least you have, a way out. I mean,
Mhm.
I've heard of situations where women are like, he was so creepy, they like somehow arranged with the restaurant owner and they like left out the back door.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
scary, but if that's one of your options because he's being a jerk and making you feel uncomfortable and you can't leave from the front, then if you can figure it out and they can let you out the back door or another entrance, well, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, I've told women that before. I'm like, tell them you got to go to the bathroom and don't come back. Like,
yep,
just don't come back. But
absolutely.
that's wonderful to hear it in that way of all the things that you would have gotten in trouble
Sure.
to
Thank
do when
you.
you were a little kid to like your siblings. Do that.
Yep. The one thing I
Because
do
that's
want to
easy
say,
to remember, like in a dangerous situation, like you're not thinking clearly, you know? So that's really
absolutely.
easy to like stick in there.
Yep. The little things. It's not going to be anything. You're not going to go punch for punch. So you're going to get into this whole like scuffle. That's not the one thing
Mm-mm.
I want to say. Just before we wrap up, is especially with drinks. You're on a date. You order a drink.
Mm-hmm.
You now have to go to the bathroom, and let's say your drink is full. Be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Don't leave the drink there. Either wait to order a second one and then go to the bathroom, or kind of try to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, but don't leave a full drink, go to the
Mm-mm.
bathroom, then come back. Because if unfortunately been situations where, people have been roofied and then all of a sudden things happen. You went to the bathroom and then,
Mm-hmm.
he decided to put something in your drink and you had no idea. So,
Yeah.
they always recommend like always stay with the clear drinks when it comes to things
Mm-hmm.
like that. because at least then you can see with wines and dark alcohol, you can't see this. So, uh,
Right. I know that one of the colleges, like, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been like Stanford or something. These these frat guys like came up with a straw or something that you can stick in to see if you have roofie in there.
oh,
Um,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
I have to read it. I have to go find the article, but I
Okay.
thought that was just so amazing that it was like these college guys who were like, "Well, we're tired of people getting attacked, so we're just gonna come figure this out."
No, I think that's great. I mean, think about you. Even at a bar,
Mhm,
you put your drink down. Listen, these are things that I used to do too. Just put my drink down and continue dancing. And I thought nothing
mhm.
of it. I was like, I mean, I was young once too and thought I was untouchable. Now that I've gone a little older and a
Yeah,
little smarter, it's like, yeah, that's not such a, that was not such a great idea. I mean, thank God nothing ever happened to me. I
mhm.
had a friend be roofied when she was
Oh,
out with
no.
friends, and the friends had to carry her out. You have no idea. You put the drink down for a quick second, you turn your head this way, and in
Mhm.
an instant, someone put something in there, and you have no idea. You pick it back up as
Ugh,
if nothing happened. So yeah, it's a dangerous world. Uh,
right.
I mean, I don't want people to feel like scared the whole time.
Mhm.
You have to be very cautious. You've got to be
Yeah.
cautious. You've got to be careful. You have to be alert.
What
You
is
know,
it? Like an ounce of prevention something. I can't remember what the rest of the saying is, but
no,
pretty much if you do you do the effort to prevent the thing from happening, then, you won't have to worry about the thing happening. Ugh.
absolutely.
Well,
So,
Christina, this has been amazing. Sorry that I threw that at you, like, after we
fine.
went through all your stuff, but I was like, "Wait, wait, wait, there's this other part."
No, that's
Ugh.
perfect.
Yay. I'm so happy that you were able to do this. Um, I want to thank everybody for listening, and absolutely check out the show notes so that you can find all the many ways that you could get to know Christina better and sign up for one of her classes and all the wonderful things. So this is the end of our episode, and I'm going to say thank you for coming and listening to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. And that is where we say "fuck no" to the status quo. All
Absolutely.
right?
Thank you, Jenny. It was
Yep.
awesome.
Yay! All right, here we go.